The Collectible Minifig series is one of my favorite LEGO themes, and Game of Thrones is my favorite fantasy world, so I thought it'd be fun to blend the two together and make a custom minifig series for the world of Ice and Fire. So let's get started first with some members of House Stark. Ned is described as having a long face with some bits of gray in his beard, so I grabbed this head from a Qui-Gon Jinn minifigure. I think it works great for Ned, and I've also paired it with some long dark brown hair. As for the rest of the fig, I came up with this combo of parts that makes some good use out of the Shard of Narsil from the LEGO Rivendell set. The hilt is just about as big as it gets for a LEGO sword, so I think it looks lovely as ice. You just can't display him from the back, which isn't a huge deal breaker for me personally. Next up, we'll make his wife, the Lady Catelyn Stark. She's described as having a lot of the classic traits of any Tully, fair skin and auburn red hair. So I think this head and hair combo is a nice match for her. Dark orange is a very common color in LEGO, and I think it's the best color, in my opinion, for Catelyn and the majority of her kids. For her dress, I took this blue one from an old castle set from like 2008-2009, and I've covered up the yellow skin on it with a blue cloak. Using cloaks like this to cover up yellow printing on custom minifigs is a really great trick, and I use it all the time. House Tully's features are just brought out so beautifully with blue clothing, and I think this is just the most obvious choice for her. Now, to make her eldest son Robb, I thought it'd be fun to depict him in his armor. So I've taken a new Horse Knight that came out a few months ago, and I've swapped the torso around so that the horse sigil is hidden. Robb wears a white surcoat over his chainmail, so I think this torso and leg combo they were basically just made for him. It looks so good. He's also described as having a fur-trimmed cloak and a long sword on his belt, so I added these custom-made cloth pieces that just look so good on him. Admittedly, his hair should probably be a tad bit closer to the brown side, but LEGO doesn't really have a good color for in between brown and dark orange, so I went with the latter to match his other siblings. Finally, he's obviously got to have his direwolf, Grey Wind, which is just a warg from the LEGO Hobbit sets for those curious. It's not exactly right for a direwolf, but hey, I'm working with what I've got here. Anyways, next let's make Theon Greyjoy. LEGO has blessed us with so many great medieval parts recently, and this Kraken Knight torso is no exception. So I've taken it with some other complementary pieces to make this base for Theon. In Bran 1, he's described as being both lean and dark. So for his face, I found that this Anakin head with the defined cheekbones looks great, as does this long black hairpiece, which I think lends a striking resemblance to this piece of fan art. I think the expression on the face gives him a nice arrogant look that just goes really well with Theon. Finally, to finish the character, I gave him his signature longbow. Next up, we'll make Jon Snow. So there are a ton of ways to go about making Jon in LEGO, but I chose to buy this custom one online. The prints for the Night's Watch outfit look amazing, but I'm not so much a fan of the rest of the figure, so I took some other parts from my collection to kind of upgrade him. I added on this black fur cape and a sling for him to holster Longclaw. Then for the head and hair, I went with this kind of dark sunken eye face print and the same hair that I used on Ned, as Jon famously takes after more of his father's look. Of course, we also need to add ghosts to finish the fig. Again, I'm using another warg from the Hobbit sets, but this time in white. I think Jon turned out looking pretty decent, but I'm not exactly happy with his face print. If you have any suggestions in the comments, please tell me, because I'm not quite sold on this look yet. Anyways, next to go with Jon, we'll make his friend Samwell Tarly. To make custom Night's Watchmen, I'd recommend mixing up a bunch of different black Star Wars robes, as they obviously work lovely for the watch. We're going to be covering most of the torso with a cloak anyways, so any black torso with robe prints looks fine here. For Sam's face, I found this fat one from another old Hobbit set. The baggy eyes and double chin is just obviously a great match for Sam. And this bowl cut does a pretty decent job of covering up the orange eyebrows that came on the head. For one final detail, I also gave Sam a book, which I thought made sense. I actually made a few other Night's Watchmen that aren't a part of this CMF per se, but I wanted to quickly show them off here anyways because I really like how they look. The snowy printed legs are from a couple of Star Wars figures that I covered up partly with cloth robes so that they don't look too futuristic. I love how these guys turned out looking, and it's got me itching to build a Castle Black Mock sometime soon. Let me know in the comments if you would be interested in seeing something like that, because I really want to make it. Moving on, we're going to take a look into King's Landing and make Grand Maester Pycelle. Trying to do any Maester is a bit of a challenge because, well, there's not any robe prints with a chain on it. But I found a decent way to do it just by attaching a small chain to the back of the minifig. It kind of looks like he's wearing a backpack over his shoulders, but this is honestly the only way to make any Maester look right. I think the hair beard piece that I found does a really good job of kind of selling the character, and I actually think he looks pretty close to his show appearance as well. For a final detail, I also gave Pycelle a flask with some milk of the poppy in it. Next, I want to try and make Beric Dondarrion. House Dondarrion has such a sick house sigil and color scheme, but they rarely get the appreciation that I think they deserve. So to make Beric, I've taken the new set of armor from LEGO Castle that is almost exactly like the kind of clothing that he's described as wearing when he shows up to the Hands tournament. The purple and silver details look so good, and I think they work really well for Beric. As for the head and hair, I went with this scarred face print because, I mean, come on, it works perfectly for this kind of character. And the hair is a very simple one with a kind of soft red hair, like a strawberry blonde maybe, which I think works great for him. Next, we're going to head into the Reach to make the Knight of Flowers, Sir Loras Tyrell. Sansa said that she had never seen anyone as beautiful as Loras, so I thought the best face print for him would be to go with one of the elven ones from the Hobbit sets. She also describes him as having lazy brown curls, so I think this messy looking long hairpiece is just the perfect one for him. I've made the rest of the character up with his armor by taking a mix of different knight parts and a floral shield from an old fantasy collectible minifigure. He ended up looking a lot more recognizable than I thought he would, even though some of the colors aren't exactly right for the Tyrells, especially the shield. Now moving back to the Stormlands, we can make another knight with absolutely no similarities to Loras at all. John Connington. A few months ago, LEGO released a few Griffin Knight minifigures, and ever since I first saw them, I knew I had to make John Con with them. So I basically just took the entire Griffin fig and just added a head and hairpiece that I think gives off the right look. I also went ahead and gave him a gray minifig hand to represent the grayscale. This was the easiest fig to make of the entire video, but I think he looks fantastic. And to end off the series, we're going to head over to Essos to make Drogo and Daenerys. For the cowl, I grabbed a Boba Fett head, a braided hairpiece, and a kind of goofy looking mustache. I found Drogo to be extremely difficult to get right. Especially the hair and mustache, the ones that I chose are really more of a compromise than I'd like. But with that being said, I do think that the body and legs that I found are actually quite good, and they match up well with how he's said to have looked. The gold details on the legs in particular feel really accurate to this piece of art. And to finish the fig, he obviously needs his red stallion. Last but not least, this video would not be finished unless we made Daenerys. For her, I grabbed a dress from Lord of the Rings and a torso from the old Prince of Persia sets. I also added on this teal cape that lends a bit of contrast to an otherwise very white figure. LEGO Star Wars actually has a minifig based on Emilia Clarke, so I decided to use that one for Daenerys, as that just made the most sense. And for an accessory, we've got this baby red dragon to depict Drogon. I made a ton of other characters for this video, but I decided to cut them out for time, so if there's enough interest in this video, I can definitely do another CMF series with even more figures. So please do let me know in the comments if you all would be interested in seeing that. And a big thank you goes out to my channel members Gyojo, Faisal, Rio Bricks, Walktermeister, Sam, Ryzen Covers, and all of my other members for supporting these videos. If you'd like to become a member yourself, you can find more information in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for watching.